Good afternoon, my friends. Welcome back to another episode of Carpo's Corner, the longest running YouTube show, 47 years and counting. And today I'm going to be talking a little bit about, well, emotion, frustration, being able to express your rage, your anger in a constructive way. I want to start off with a story about myself. You know, you can skip forward if you don't want to hear it, but it does pertain to the topic. When I was younger, I was a hesher when I was in school. If you don't know what a hesher is, in the 80s and 90s, the heshers were the guys who wore Metallica t-shirts, spiked jackets, and, leather wristbands, shit like that. I wasn't the mohawk type, but I had long hair, shaved on the sides, at one point a rat tail. But I was a hesher / skater. And I was really into what I did, and I loved skateboarding, and I loved going to metal shows. It wasn't until years later when I discovered the Grateful Dead that I became a, quote, new age hippie, I guess. In the mid-90s, I discovered the Dead, early 90s, and then I was up fully on, tie-dyes and braids and, all the decor. In all of those personas, the skater, the hesher, the hippie, I was expressing myself in a way that I felt like I could relate to other people, that I could make connections with other people. But you don't notice it when you're young. Just what pops into my mind, since I do these Carpo's Corner episodes spontaneously. What pops into my mind is the hipster, which didn't exist when I was younger, but people talk about the hipster as being, I live in Portland area, so I grew up here, and I've seen the hipster look, like a beanie cap and a short beard and a flannel shirt and the tight jeans and the Doc Martens, whatever it might be. But the whole point here is not to dismiss anybody's style, but to say most of the people who fall into the hipster realm are the ones who pride themselves on individuality and being unique. But that uniqueness bleeds into a coherent structure, like a lattice work of, it crystallizes into a system of its own. You can't escape it. We as humans want connection with other people. We want to be like them. We want to show other people who we are. Even if we want to say, I'm unique, you dress like other people who say, I'm unique. So, back to when I was younger, I, going into my hippie phase, I guess, I met a lot of peace-loving people. Now, I've always tried to be a peaceful person. I feel like I'm always fair. I'm pretty much just with other people as long as they're fair with me. But I have caught myself being a fool more than a few times. Maybe overreacting to somebody telling me not to do something. Having a major problem with authority and lashing out, just being angry. Never physical violence. I would never physically harm someone because of what they said. That is like way above and beyond anything. But I have no problem verbalizing how I feel. And I've thought about this as to the kind of person that I want to be in life, or have wanted to be in the past anyway, as opposed to who I am. And the person I wanted to be was the strong, silent, calm, collected, and cool type, the stoic. And even bled into my early YouTube years, because before I could express myself on YouTube to get my frustrations out, my thoughts, which I don't talk about frustrating stuff too often, but I do on my, when it really gets to me. But before those days, I had this. This is a huge stack of my books, my folders that I've written in. This entire box right here is completely full of different files with short stories, poetry, and pictures that I've drawn. And over on this side, this is the one I just finished filling up. And that's why I'm sitting here at a strange angle. I usually make my videos over there. And somebody asked me the other day, where do you make your videos? It's a small room. It's about 6 feet by 12 feet. and it's in the back of my garage. I have a 2-car garage that's been converted, so there's a small front area and then a big living room area and then this little office. And this is where I've always done my videos. I've done, this is my space. So I've been going through this. I also have this big bin and then this big bin full of drawing pads. I mean, we're talking like pages and pages and pages of just writing and sketches. And this all started back in the the early 90s when I was in high school. My dad passed away from cancer when I was a freshman in high school, and maybe right before I was a sophomore, I think it was. And I recall going to school 3 days later, because it was the first day of school, and we agreed it would be better to just go. No sense in dwelling. I've learned to cope with my emotions, I guess, to the point where I was able to just kind of put off my sobbing and whining to myself until later, which I definitely did when I heard a song called Nights in White Satin by the Moody Blues. I'm sure most of you know it. It was a song my dad loved, and when it came on the radio one day, I just bawled, Actually, I was playing a tape, I think, but it was a tough time in my life, and back then, I didn't consider it. I didn't understand the impact that had on me until later in retrospect, and how that pissed me off, and how that made me angry at the world for losing my dad at such a young age. And in fact, the night he was living with us and the night he passed away, they had to take him to the hospital because they had to rush him down there. And then my mom came back and asked if I wanted to go with them to the hospital. Said he might not make it the night, and I said no, and I went out skateboarding with my friends instead. That was the mind of a 15-year-old, and I kind of hit myself for that. But then I realized, no, that wasn't self-sabotage. That was a subconscious decision, a choice, not to see my father pass away, because I didn't want to remember him like that. My brother, on the other hand, I think he went, and it definitely hit him pretty hard. And, that kind of stuff, when you're young, you just learn to get used to it. You learn to become immune to a lot of these things. The loss of people, but you never, ever, ever become completely immune to any type of pain. And so there are constructive ways to lash out when we're frustrated. We know this. We can choose to talk to somebody. We can go to a counselor. I highly recommend people talk to somebody who will listen. Not just a counselor or somebody you have to pay, but somebody who just cares about you. And unfortunately, a lot of people don't have somebody who they think cares about them. Even though most people probably do have somebody out there who would listen, a lot of people are so self-critical that they don't even allow themselves to ask for help when they really need it. And therefore that frustration, that sadness builds. That sadness, that loneliness can turn into rage. It can turn into anger. I've seen this happening over the last couple of years to so many people who once were pretty cool, calm, and collected, who I would once call stoic, whether it's on the internet or elsewhere. Folks just kind of lose their mind when they feel cornered or threatened by change and different ideas. And I understand that fear because it's projected fear that's not necessary, but it's carried on from our ancestry. Fear the lion. But we, as a species, I think most people do a pretty darn decent job controlling their emotions and handling their shit. Even though it's easy to point out the few who overreact and really are angry, violent people, they are the minority. Just like the people who, when I heard somebody, it was a Lex Friedman podcast today with this this biologist. They were talking about, humans and evolution, and they brought up how one of them was saying how, it always seems that people are talking about how crappy of drivers are, people in cars, and how he doesn't see it the same way because and this was great because I see this too. Whenever somebody says, "Look, I'll look at all these idiots on the road," and there's one accident, then you look up and there's hundreds of thousands of cars, all flowing in and out in unison and working together. That is amazing. That structure, that ability to even have that kind of coherence through the highways, it's amazing. We all learn how to make it work. And it's the same way with people and their, the bad things that happen in the world. Fuck the media. They want to focus on this all the time. They're constantly talking about the problems of the world. And, turning off the news is first and foremost critical to not being angry and frustrated. We get tunnel vision. I've learned a lot about how the mind works through my own mind, but that's, of course, only my own perspective. I find if I'm watching something that's really enlightening or funny, it gives me a serotonin buzz. I feel good. I want to share some positive vibes. The minute I turn on, something about something going on in the world, I'm like, fear, panic, they're selling it all, and I don't buy into the fear and panic, but I feel it making me want to talk about it. I'm like, wait, this isn't a topic I need to discuss. It's not even worth my time. I don't care what's happening with these people or in this place. It's not my issue. I live here. I have a life to attend to. And so the more we focus on our own lives and stop worrying about other people's lives or other shit in the world, I think that the better off we are and the happier we will be. And that's my Carpo's Corner for the day. I know there are a lot of people out there who are extremely depressed and angry and frustrated. And, I know I throw those two in together because they are very closely related. Stress response can cause people to be angry when they enter the fight or flight. It depends on how people react. So think of it this way. When people are stressed out about the world or their own life, stress causes fight or flight or freeze. And if you break this down into the categories of humans, you find that some people do that, exactly that. Some people fight, they turn it into anger. Some people flight, they try to run away from their problems by getting wasted, by whether it be drugs, metaphors, or actually traveling away to some other place. And then there's the ones that freeze. And those are the ones that don't do anything. That's what I think leads to depression. I think that stress itself is what can lead to depression. And as long as people can get through that stress and manage that, a lot of depression, or what we think is depression, can be lifted, because ultimately it is subjective. Evidence shows there's no such thing as an actual chemical imbalance. There's no real strong understanding as to how even SRIs or SSRIs work, other than serotonin is somehow related in how good we feel. But then you end up taking them and needing them, and this whole idea of the revolving pharmacy for people to feel normal. And I guess my message there is just, I'm not saying don't use a substance that helps you. I'm saying do what you can to get to the bottom of your stress, so you need as little as possible of those extra substances. Peace out. I'll talk to y'all next time. Be well.